Welcome back to Part 2. Now that we've determined that the construction of meaning is a highly individualized matter, what can we do as teachers to even the playing field so that all students have a good chance of comprehending the text? We mentioned the need to evaluate the difficulty of the text and to assess and build students' prior knowledge to prepare them for reading, but we haven't mentioned another set of tools that we can equip them with to be good readers, namely strategies and skills that proficient readers use. These also need to eventually become part of their prior knowledge or schemata that they bring to the text to help them with comprehension. Many of the strategies we use as proficient readers have actually become so automatic that they are now skills. We do not even think about them. However, as the text becomes more challenging, our strategies also need to evolve and improve in order to handle that more complex text. So it seems that strategies, in a sense, are not a finished product, but a tool that is constantly being sharpened and honed to handle more and more complex text, and/or to deal with text in greater depth, instead of just at a level of superficial understanding. Over the decades, a great deal of research has been conducted about what makes a good reader a good reader. You already know the answer to that in terms of factors such as language skills, vocabulary development, word identification and recognition skills, fluency, prior knowledge, but what about strategies tied directly to comprehension? Gunning has categorized many of these strategies into 4 areas. The first of these is preparational strategies. Consider your own approach to reading a chapter in your text. How do you prepare? Are you aware of the purpose or why you are reading the chapter, what you want to find out, and what you will do with that information? Aside from checking to see how long the chapter is and completing the anticipation guide, do you look over subheadings, glance at charts or photos and captions, take note of any interesting information in the sidebars? Are you thinking about what you already know, or are you questioning where you think some of these text feature cues might take you? Aren't these the same activities we coach our students to do before reading informational text especially? Organizational strategies, on the other hand, help us to plow through the text with some type of order. We use these strategies during and even after reading. Elaborative strategies are also ongoing as well and occur during reading and after reading. They are the reading between the lines activities that help us understand and delve into the text a little deeper. It's where we make connections between the text and our prior knowledge, with both hopefully enhancing the other. The 4th area is metacognitive strategies. These are what we use to monitor comprehension and to detect breakdowns and how to fix them. It's happened to even the best of readers. We drift from the text, or something we've read doesn't make sense. We stop and fix the breakdown by rereading, or refocusing and reading further for more clarification, or seek clarification in an earlier part of the text, or consulting a resource if we are truly stuck. It's also being aware of our purpose for reading and assessing if I'm going to be able to meet that purpose with the type of reading I've been doing up to that point. For example, if my purpose is to write a summary of the selection, am I reading in such a manner that I have identified the main idea, and am I gathering the details I need for that main idea? The reader also knows himself as a reader. He has pulled up any prior knowledge that may be helpful, as well as any warning signals. For example, the reader might think to himself, this article is about weather patterns, and I know I don't know a great deal about this topic, so I would need to adjust my reading rate and carefully preview the text and monitor my comprehension closely. Here are a few preparational or pre-reading strategies and activities. Before reading a selection, a student should complete one or more of these activities. Essentially, organizational strategies are at the heart of comprehension, according to Gunning. Here are some of the most valuable ones. Traditionally, we think of summarizing as something that we do after we have completed a reading. However, research has shown that good readers are constantly summarizing the story or information as they move through the text. Inferences are reading between the lines. It's not explicitly stated by the author, but using our prior knowledge in conjunction with information from the text leads to an inference. Teachers may need to help activate appropriate prior knowledge. They must also be certain that students have a good grasp of the selection on a literal level before asking them to make inferences. Good questions spring from background knowledge. It's hard to ask a substantive question without knowing or caring very much about a topic. As adult readers, we question all the time and often aren't even aware of it. In many cases, we elect to read in order to answer a question we have. When was the last time you Googled for information? We also generate questions as we read. The information that we are processing often triggers new questions which we want answered, thus spurring us to read further. Many times students don't know that good readers ask questions. The emphasis in many classrooms is just to give the right answers. But children need to know that their questions, their curiosity, matter and is a very important and viable part of being a good reader. Generating questions keeps a child engaged in a text and signals to him if he is or isn't meeting his purpose for reading, and if he is or isn't constructing meaning. If he's asking substantive questions triggered by the text and he's unable to answer them, then there must be a breakdown in his comprehension, or, if his questions themselves are based on erroneous information gleaned from the text, and then of course he's not finding answers, a red flag should go up. In either case, he needs to engage in a fix-up strategy. The last of Gunning's categories is metacognitive strategies, or thinking about your reading itself. Knowing oneself as a reader involves knowing your likes and dislikes, knowing your reading abilities, which lets you gauge how well you think you can handle a text and adjusting your reading accordingly, which of course means that you are able to gauge the difficulty of the text itself. Last but not least, it entails pulling up the prior knowledge that applies to the selection. Employing metacognitive strategies also means regulating, which entails being aware of the structure of the text and how it can be used to aid comprehension. Checking entails being aware of the comprehension breakdowns and determining if the reader is focusing on important, relevant information and is using question generating to set and meet purposes for reading. Once any breakdowns are detected, what can be done? Check the next 2 slides for more details on repairing comprehension. There are a number of reasons why comprehension might be at risk. Here are some very common mishaps. And here are some fix-ups. Do any look familiar to what you may have engaged in using? Let's take a break from all that digging for meaning and then move on to our final PowerPoint.